Everyone knew Mzee Jabari, the famous herbalist with wise eyes and steady hands. He walked the hills at dawn, touching leaves like a father touches a child's head, whispering, Shinka Nguvu, hold strength. People came from far places, boulder riders, market mothers, school teachers, even a shy chief's clerk, to sit on the three-legged stool outside his hut and ask for healing. He would grind roots, boil barks, and say a prayer in a soft voice. Children grew, cows calved, crops calmed. The village called him a gift from God. But inside his heart, under the calm voice and slow smile, there was a small dark corner that he never showed anyone. In that corner lived a whisper he tried to ignore. The whisper had one name, Baraka, his only son. When Baraka was born, the midwife laughed and cried at the same time because the baby's palms had tiny lines that curled like vines. This child will touch plants and the plants will sing, she said. Mzee Jabari smiled then, but his smile was tight, and deep inside him something pulled. When Baraka learned to walk, he followed his father into the hills. When he learned to speak, he began to tell stories to the trees. Sleep, Njani, he would say to a leaf, and the leaf would fold. Wake, he would say, and sometimes, to everyone's surprise, the leaf would lift again. At 8 years old, he lowered a fever by placing a cool leaf and a prayer on a little girl's forehead. At 10, he made a stubborn wound clean by washing it with a tea he brewed from two weeds that other people stepped on without care. At 12, he saved an old goat by mixing ash and aloe the way he did not learn from any book. People started to whisper, not Mzee Jabari the Great, but Baraka the Wonder. The whisper in Mzee Jabari's chest turned hotter. No one knew the day he walked alone to the sacred fig tree near the river bend, carrying a gourd and a knot of dry twigs. No one saw him draw a circle on the ground with powder from a bitter root that his teacher had warned him never to use. No one heard the hungry prayer he prayed in a voice that shook the leaves. He spoke words that were not kind. He sealed those words with a spit of palm wine and a smear of his own blood. He sealed them on his son. After that day, Baraka's touch became quiet. Leaves did not wake. Wounds took longer to close. Fever teas tasted flat. People no longer said Baraka the wonder. They just said Baraka is learning and turned back to Mzee Jabari for help. The boy did not cry. He only worked harder. He studied the hills like a library, counted the rains like a banker counts coins, and watched people closely. He learned to listen to coughs and hear the story behind them. He learned to sniff water and know if it was lying about being clean. He learned to see which plant grew fast and which grew jealous. But at night, in the small hut behind his father's big one, he would sit by the fire and stare at his open palms, turning them on the light as if he could find the old singing lines again. The only person who saw him like that was Nia. Nia's laugh could make birds stop to listen. Her hair was like a river when she loosened it after farm work. She worked at Mama Atieno's tea place, serving chapati and sweet milk tea, and she carried a secret love for Baraka, the way one carries a hot pan. Careful hands, calm face, brave heart. They met in the mango grove behind the primary school, where children chased tires at sunset. Nia would bring a slice of warm chapati. Baraka would bring a pocket full of wild berries. They would sit on the same fallen log and talk about nothing and everything. The smell of first rain, the sound cows make when they miss home, the way the moon looks bigger when you are sad. Nia would hold his hand, trace those quiet lines, and say, Listen, even if your hands do not sing, your eyes still do. You see people like a mirror. He would answer, and you see right through my pride and my fear. They never used big words like forever. They said simple things like, I am here and I will come again tomorrow. One Sunday, the chief's son, Darius, came to Mama Atieno's wearing a new shirt and a swagger like a rooster that just learned to crow. He looked at Nia like a hawk looks at a chick. He left a big tip and a note. The note said, "Meet me at the river tonight. I can make you the next lady of the chief's house." Nia folded the note and used it to balance the leg of a shaky stool. Darius watched and swallowed his pride with tea. From that day, small gossip began to float like smoke across the village. Nia is too proud for Darius, some said. Others said, Darius will not let this pass. He's a lion. Nia kept 70 and smiling. But her eyes watched the corners of the room in case danger came looking. Then it happened. The strange disease that moved like a shadow nobody invited. It started with little Candy, the headmaster's granddaughter. She came home from collecting water with a nose that bled a little. By night, her skin was hot like cooked ugali. By morning, her eyes were yellow like the inside of a pawpaw, and her breath had a sour smell. Mzee Jabari gave fever tea, then another, then a stronger one. Candy improved and then fell again. By the third day, three more children had the same signs. Their mothers cried in one voice. The river moved quietly, as if it knew something and refused to speak. The disease did not make a big noise. It made a slow, cruel hum. It took people who worked hard. It took people who laughed loud. It took people who were still paying for last season's plow. The chief called a baraza under the big acacia. The elders argued. Some said it was a curse sent by jealous neighbors. Others said it was bad water. Others blamed a new trader who sold cheap cooking oil that tasted like soap. Mzee Jabari said, "Give me 3 days, we will fix this." He walked to the hills with two baskets and returned with roots and leaves. He boiled, steamed, pounded, and prayed. He gave drinks and smears and baths. The disease slowed, but it did not stop. People began to look at Baraka again with that old hope in their eyes, the hope that makes a person afraid of their own mouth. Baraka, one mother whispered at the tea place. "I remember when you were small and you saved my goat." He smiled gently and said, Tutaweza, we will find a way. He did not tell her about the quiet ache in his hands where the old power used to live. That night, Nia found Baraka at the mango grove. His eyes were red from smoke and from sadness. She took his face in her hands and said, "Listen to the river, it knows the story." They left the path and slid down the slope to the bend where the sacred fig tree's roots held the bank like old fingers. The water looked clean, but there was a thin, strange shine on it, like oil that someone tried to wipe away. Baraka scooped a little into his palm, sniffed, frowned. He took a reed, split it, and watched how the water moved through. "It's heavy," he said softly. "Something is in it that should not be." Nia pointed upstream. "There's a new quarry above Inzi Wafula's farm." They washed the stone dust into the stream. "Maybe the village needs another well, far from this bend." Baraka nodded. "Tomorrow I will tell the chief, but we still need to help the sick now." He remembered a story his mother told him before she died, about a herb that was shy and only came out when called by its right name. It grew under the fig roots. It took sweetness from sorrow and turned it into strength. His mother called it Kindonda Cheka, the wound that laughs. "Wait," he said to Nia. "Hold my hand. If I sleep, you pull." He slid under the roots, felt around in the dark cold water, searching for soft curls. Then his fingers touched something firm but alive, like a heartbeat under soil. He pulled gently and brought up a small plant with pale leaves that seemed to glow. He smelled it. His eyes widened. "This is it," he whispered. "If we combine this with Umbogazumu's leaves and ash from cliff firewood, it can pull poison out." He rushed home and walked under the smoky roof while Nia fanned the flames. He prepared a tea, a wash, and a small paste to put under the tongue. The smell was strange but not ugly. He tested it on himself first, then on Nia's little brother, who had started to cough in the evening. By morning, the boy's fever was gone. Baraka went to the chief's hut with the mixture and the story of the river. The chief listened, then sent a messenger to stop the quarry washing at once and to call a work party to dig a new pit well in the higher ground. But Darius stood in the doorway with his new shirt and his old pride and said, "We cannot reach the people on a boy's recipe. We must wait for Mzee Jabari's order. He is the healer." The room went quiet. The chief's eyes flicked to his son. The elders looked at the floor. Mzee Jabari stepped out from the back curtain and stood in the light. He held the mixture in his palm, close to his nose, breathing its story. He knew it could work. He knew the shape of the herbs, the smell of the ash. He also knew the feel of that old knot inside him, the knot he tied himself under the sacred fig. He looked at Baraka, at the quiet lines on his son's hands, at the fear and hope in his eyes. In that moment, the truth hit him like a wave. He had made this slow hunger in his son's hands. He had made this tumbling in his son's path. He had done it with his own jealousy, and he had called it strength. He felt sick. He felt small. But pride is a stubborn dog. It bites even when you try to pet it. Mzee Jabari cleared his throat and said, "We will try both. We will not risk the whole village on one idea." It sounded wise. It was cowardly. Baraka lowered his eyes and held his breath. Nia squeezed his fingers until he felt their bone. The next day, three more families fell ill. Mzee Jabari's mixtures kept the fire slow but did not put it out. Baraka's mixture, given quietly to those who trusted him, pulled the smoke from their breath and cooled their skin. People began to talk in corners. Some said, "Baraka's medicine is helping." Others said, "Do not make Mzee angry." People carried their fear like a basket with a hole. It leaked and left a trail wherever they walked. That night, the wind rose and trees whispered secrets to each other. Mzee Jabari lay awake, staring at the roof. He heard his wife's voice, gone many years now, saying, "A child is borrowed. You are his father, but he is not your property. Your work is to lift him, not to push him down." He covered his face and cried quietly so the house would not hear. Before dawn, he walked to the sacred fig tree, to the same bench where he had once tied the knot of jealousy. He took the same bitter powder and poured it out into the dirt. "I confess," he said to the roots, "I fought my own son. I was afraid to be small. I am smaller now. I did this evil. I break it. I cut it. I throw it away." The hair felt thick. The ground seemed to breathe. He took his knife and cut his palm and let his blood fall on the old circle. "Let my blood pay for my pride. Lift my curse from my son, even if it falls on me." The wind stopped suddenly, then rushed back like it had been waiting. A bird called 3 times. The river made a sound like a sigh. Far away, a baby cried and then quieted. Mzee Jabari stood and ran home like a young man, straight to Baraka's hut. His son was already awake, grinding leaves. Nia sat by the fire, braiding her hair, her eyes bright and worried. Mzee Jabari did not speak slow or proud. He fell to his knees. "My son," he said, "I cursed you. It was me. I was jealous. I did it with my own mouth. I have broken it now, but I do not know if I am too late. Forgive me." The room was silent. The only sound was the pop of a dry stick in the fire. Nia's hand stopped mid-braid. Baraka looked at his father for a long, long time. In that look there were years, years of trying, failing, hoping, waiting, and hiding hurt under patience. Then he moved. He took his father's face in both hands. "You are my father," he said in a voice that was both soft and strong. "I forgive you. We do not have time to cry. We have to walk." He turned to his table, placed his hands over the herbs, and closed his eyes. The room changed. It was like a door opened in the air and a warm breeze walked in. The lines on Baraka's palms lit up under the smoke, like tiny parts catching sunrise. The herbs seemed to sit up straighter. The ash smelled sweet. Nia gasped and covered her mouth. Mzee Jabari put his forehead to the floor and whispered a thank you till tears made mud under him. They moved like dancers. Baraka spoke instructions and Mzee Jabari followed like a student. Nia kept the fire steady and the water clean. By noon, they had enough mixture for 20 houses. They split up. Baraka went to the far end of the village where the disease had bitten deepest. Mzee Jabari took the center. Nia ran between them like a good wind. People drank, washed, and held the small paste under their tongues, while Baraka prayed in a voice that made walls softer. The fever began to fold like a tired bird. Eyes cleared, chest loosened. Mothers laughed and cried at the same time. Fathers shook hands like long lost brothers. Children asked for porridge. Word ran faster than feet. Baraka is back. Baraka is healing. Darius watched from the chief's veranda, his jaw tight. He stepped down into the dust and went to find Nia near Mama Atieno's. "So this is your man," he said with a smile that did not reach his eyes. "The miracle boy. Do you think the chief will still let me marry you if the whole village sings his name?" Nia stood straight. She did not raise her voice. "No one holds me, Darius. Respect yourself." He grabbed her wrist. Before he could say another word, Mama Atieno stepped out with a rolling pin and a look that could stop rain. Darius let go and laughed like a child caught with a stolen mango. "Be careful," he said to Nia. "Stories change quickly." He walked away humming, but his eyes were hard. By evening, the village was humming too, but with relief. A drum sounded, not for dancing, just to carry the message of hope from homestead to homestead. The chief called for a second baraza in the morning to honor the healers and to plan the new well. People began to gather gourds of clean water, sweep their yards, and cook soft vegetables for those who had not eaten well. The river sang softly, lighter without the quarry waste. That night, under a sky full of watchful stars, Nia and Baraka met at the mango grove. They did not bring berries or chapati. They brought their hearts and their breath. Nia said, "I was afraid we had lost you. I will not pretend to be brave. I was scared." Baraka said, "I am here." He opened his palms. The lines glowed faintly in the moonlight like fireflies trapped in glass. "Tomorrow we finish this. Then I will speak to your uncle. I will ask for you. I want a small house near the hills. I want our mornings to smell of tea and smoke. I want our evenings to taste like mango and laughter." Nia smiled with tears in her eyes. "Me too," she whispered. They leaned their heads together and sat in silence, breathing the same air, writing a promise without using a pen. But stories this sweet attract trouble like sugar attracts ants. Somewhere in the dark, Darius watched. He carried a little bottle that he bought in the market from a stranger who sold cures for everything and nothing. The stranger said, "One drop will make a healer's hand forget." Darius did not believe in such tricks, but hunger makes a person foolish. He told himself he would scare Baraka a little, make him stumble in front of the whole village, make Nia doubt him. He told himself many lies in one short walk. Before dawn, Baraka woke early to prepare the last, strongest batch. Mzee Jabari slept at the doorway like a guard dog, half awake, ready to fetch water and carry firewood. Nia arrived with clean calabashes. She placed them by the table and stepped out to wash her hands. In that small moment, Darius slipped through the back, poured one drop from the bottle into a bowl, and ran like a shadow. He did not know that the bottle held not a curse, but strong alcohol with stale perfume. It would not kill, but it would make a mixture react fast like a match in dry grass. Baraka came back, lifted the bowl, and paused. He sniffed. The smell was wrong, like a secret with too much sugar. He frowned, tasted a drop on his tongue, and felt it burn quick and ugly. He spat it out and said, "Stop!" The room froze. Mzee Jabari looked up. Nia's eyes were wide. Baraka grabbed two fresh leaves and dropped them into the bowl. They turned black in one breath. He opened the door and threw the whole thing into the dirt. The earth hissed. A patch of grass curled. Baraka's voice was calm, even as his heart beat like drums. "Someone tried to spoil the medicine." He felt a gust of anger, then let it go. "We cannot be late. We make once more." They walked in a rush. Mzee Jabari checked every calabash, every pestle, every leaf with the care of a man building a bridge for his own child. Nia watched the doorway with eyes like a hawk's. When the sun was just lifting, they carried the medicine to the square. The whole village was there, with bowls and blankets and babies. The chief stood up and thanked the healers. Mzee Jabari took a step and then stopped. Baraka stepped forward, holding a bundle of herbs in one hand and a small gourd in the other. He began to teach. He told people how to boil water longer, how to let dirty water settle, how to save clean ash in a clay pot, how to know when a child's cough was telling the truth and when it was telling a lie. He spoke simple words. He gave away recipes like rain gives away drops. He looked like a teacher. He looked like a bridge. He looked like a son who had forgiven his father so deeply that the whole world could cross over. Nia watched him with pride so big it felt like a new sky. Then, as he finished, a child at the edge of the crowd coughed and fell. It was Candy. Her face emptied of color. Her breath became a thin thread. Her little chest fought like a fish in a net. Baraka ran. He knelt, placed the small paste under her tongue, lifted her head, and poured 2 sips of the tea with his left hand, while his right hand held the bundle of herbs. He called her name the way a mother calls a child home in the dark. Kendi, Rudy, come back. The village held its breath. The chief gripped his staff until his knuckles turned pale. Mzee Jabari's lips moved with silent prayer. Darius stood very still with his lies like stones in his pockets. Baraka closed his eyes and went deep inside, to the quiet room where he walked with God. He felt a wall, cold and heavy, and he walked through it. He felt a knot and he untied it. He felt a river and he let it flow. He felt his mother's hand on his shoulder and his father's tears on his feet. He whispered, "Take mine, give her." Candy's eyes fluttered, then opened. She took a long breath like the breath of the first person in the world. The crowd burst into sound. Shouts, cries, jubilations. Mzee Jabari laughed and cried at once. Nia dropped to her knees and thanked God in a voice that shook. Baraka smiled and looked at Candy's grandmother. "Warm porridge," he said. "Small sips, she will be fine." He stood up slowly, still holding the herbs. He tried to lift his hand higher to show the children that they were safe now. In that very moment, the herbs in his palm turned to dust, not slowly, not one leaf at a time, all at once, like time snapped its fingers. The dust poured through his fingers like sand escaping an hourglass. Gasps waved through the crowd. Mzee Jabari's face collapsed. He understood what it meant. The curse was lifted. Yes, the forgiveness was real. Yes, but the prize had been waiting. Baraka swayed once like a tree in a strong wind. Nia was already moving, reaching, catching. She held him as he sank to his knees, as if the ground had become too heavy for his feet. He looked at her and managed a small smile, the kind he saved just for her. "I kept my promise," he whispered. "We saved them." She touched his face. "And I will keep mine," she whispered back, choking on tears. "I am here." Baraka turned his head to find his father. Mzee Jabari came close on hands and knees, old and new at the same time, broken and whole in the same breath. He tried to speak and then could not. Baraka saved him by making it simple. "Baba," he said, "I forgive you." Then his chest rose one last time and fell soft, like a curtain closing after a long, beautiful play. The square stood still. Even the flies paused. A wind came, lifted the dust from Baraka's hands, and carried it over the crowd, over the roofs, over the sacred fig tree, and into the river where it touched the water and turned the shine into clear light. The village, all of it, dropped to its knees. Nia cried without sound, holding Baraka's head to her chest, the way a mother holds a baby, the way a wife holds a husband, the way the earth holds a seed. Mzee Jabari put his forehead to his son's feet. He did not wail, he did not argue. He said very softly, "I'm the one who killed you with my pride, and you're the one who saved me with your love." The chief stepped forward with trembling hands. "We will honor him," he said. "We will build the new well and teach our children what he taught us. We will carve his name on the big stone by the school. We will remember the day when dust turned to life." The village carried Baraka with songs that were half tears and half thanks. Nia walked behind, holding the small god he had used to save Kendi. Mzee Jabari walked barefoot in the dust, not as a healer, not as a famous man, but as a father who had learned the hardest lesson in the world. Days passed. The disease did not return. The new well was dug on high ground. The quarry was forced to make a proper drain. Women boiled water longer, saved clean ash, and taught the small ones to wash their hands and listen to their bodies. At Mama Atieno's tea place, there was a new stool that no one sat on. It was Baraka's. People would put flowers on it and small notes that said thank you in shaky handwriting. The chief's son, Darius, disappeared for a while. When he came back, he had no swagger. He came at night and left a small sack of maize at Nia's door. He did not knock. He did not sign his name. He just left it and went away. Small gossips said he was afraid. Others said he had learned something from shame. One evening, 2 weeks after the last fever, Nia went to the mango grove with a small lamp. She sat on the fallen log and looked at the place they used to sit together. She spoke to the night the way one speaks to his trusted friend. I will carry you, she said. I will finish what you started. She opened the small gourd and found a folded leaf inside, dry but still green. Baraka had written with charcoal a simple list for the next season: plants to teach the children, places to check the water, the right time to harvest Kindoda checker before it hides. At the bottom, he had drawn a small heart next to her name. She smiled through tears. I am here, she said again. In the morning, she started to train with Mzee Jabari. He treated her like a student, like a daughter, like the person he would answer to on the day he met God. He moved slower now. He spoke softer. He listened longer. When people thanked him, he corrected them gently. Thank Nia, thank Baraka. He stopped wearing his big hat and started wearing humility like a coat. And then came the day that still makes people lower their voices when they tell the story. The village gathered under the acacia to plant a tree for Baraka. Children sang a song they had made. With words so sweet, even the stubborn elders wiped their eyes. Nia stood up to speak, holding the gourd close to her chest. Before she could say a word, a sudden wind rose from the river, fast and fierce, as if 1,000 birds had lifted at once. The sky went dark, though there were no clouds. The acacia groaned. People held their lassos tight. The lamp by the elder's feet blew out even though it was daytime. The wind circled once and then rushed straight at Mzee Jabari. It hit him like a wave and he stumbled backward into the dust. When the wind stopped, a strange silence fell. Every eye turned to him. He sat up slowly, his face pale, his mouth open like he was listening to something far away. He tried to say Baraka's name, and the sound broke in his throat. He tried again and found no voice. In that moment, the price that he had offered at the fig tree came to collect. Mzee Jabari's voice left him. Not his breath, not his mind, not his hands, just his voice. The man who had used words to heal, to pray, and to curse now had to live the rest of his days without a single sound. He looked at Nia with fear and then with peace. He touched his throat and then placed his hand over his heart. Nia understood. She nodded once, firm. You will still teach, she said, with your eyes, with your hands, with your quiet. The shocking wind had not finished. It lifted the dust from the ground and formed a thin path that led from the acacia to the sacred fig tree. Children saw it first and pointed. The path glittered like ground up herbs lit by sunlight. Nia followed it with the gourd in her hands and the whole village behind her, quiet as a prayer. At the river bend, the glitter settled on the water and swelled into a clean, clear circle. From under the roots, a small new plant pushed up, pale and brave. The first child of Kindoka Cheka since Baraka's passing. Nia knelt and touched it with one finger. Her palm lines glowed faintly, just for a breath, and then went calm. The village gasped. The elders crossed themselves. Mzee Jabari covered his face and shook with silent sobs. They did not call it a miracle with big words. They called it a sign with simple ones. They took the sign home like a seed. From that day, when people told the story, they did not end it with only sadness. They ended it with the wind that stole a voice and returned a path, with the plants that came back to the light, with the quiet strength of a girl who loved a boy and turned that love into work that saved many. Some nights, when the moon is fat and round, the leaves of the acacia make a sound like soft singing. Children say it is Baraka teaching the plants again. Elders say it is the river laughing at human pride. Nia hears it and answers under her breath, I am here. And in the small mud walled clinic by the well on the hill, where water runs clean and ash sits ready in a clay pot, there hangs a wooden sign carved by the carpenter with a strong hand. It reads, Pride kills faster than any poison. People touch the sign as they pass, the way people touch the forehead of a sleeping child. And they remember the day when dust became a teacher, a father lost his voice to find his heart, and a healer's last breath saved a village and left a love that still walks our paths like a quiet, faithful wind. The end. The moral lesson of the story is pride kills faster than any poison. Please kindly leave a comment, like, share, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching.